So today, Cooper and I spent most of our time outside. The weather was just too perfect to pass up. And I wanted to get him moving in a way that was kind of self-reinforcing for him. The very first time we tried to do some office laps outside when he was on his 6-foot lead, it turned into a tug of war with him. He knew where he wanted to go, and the minute I tried to shift gears, he would pump the brakes. Like you say, when he has decided that he is done or when something kind of overwhelms him, he puts on a full stop, and there is no changing his mind until he's had a chance to kind of assess the situation and figure out where he wants to be. So I used our long line today. I think it's a 20-foot that I have. And I wanted to just see, one, if he would be willing to move that far away from me. And two, if he would be willing to kind of check in with me periodically, recall to me, just stop together, hi, and hang out. And he did. He actually came down pretty readily from his initial kind of pacing, anxiety, and kind of freeze frame and stare behavior. So what I was looking for in those situations, there are a couple of key behaviors you want to try and capture when Cooper is exploring with you to prevent him from getting overstimulated and overwhelmed when something surprising happens. So, and we've probably talked about this when he was younger, but I just want to reiterate now that he's a little bit older, and there can be new things that pop up that are very surprising for him. When you're out together on leash, look for sniffing. Sniffing is a sign of mindfulness, really, when it comes to dogs, because that's their strongest sense. It's even stronger than hearing, and definitely stronger than their eyesight. So if they're super concerned about what they're seeing, they're not getting a lot of information from that one sense. So it can be very overstimulating, very confusing, very concerning for them if they're just focusing in on what's in front of them visually. If they stop to sniff, yep, good boy, like he just did, you can capture that choice and reward it with some nice cookie tosses onto the ground to again reinforce that sniff behavior immediately by locating snacks and taking the snacks and enjoying the snacks. Good guy. Sniffing is the quickest way for a dog to soothe themselves by gathering information immediately around them. And then when they pick their head back up, you can try to prompt them to check in with you rather than refocusing on something that might have triggered an overreaction or an anxious response. Yes. Sniffing in stillness especially is very self-soothing and something that you can capture and reward with your marker of yep and some cookie tosses, okay? Another thing to reward and reinforce is a full body shake. We got a couple of those today outside, which I was actually really proud of because we had a lot of traffic around us while we were working outside this afternoon. And he did 2 full body shakes after he watched a client come in from their car and after he watched some team members move out of the office to their car. So both of those behaviors and both of those experiences involved cars pulling into the parking lot or turning on or turning off, which is some loud engine noises, doors slamming on the cars, and doors opening suddenly from our office, all of which have triggered kind of a startle response from him in the past. So when he does kind of startle or kind of flinch about noises, give him a second to feel his feelings. And you want to look again for the sniffing. You might see, if he doesn't sniff towards the ground, you might see him kind of raise his nose to the air, kind of like he's doing right now, but with a little more of a closed mouth to really engage his nostrils and take in those scents. That's another opportunity for you to mark. Yep, good boy. And really encourage him to move to floor sniffing or ground sniffing. And eventually you'll see him kind of stop and then do a full body shake. And that's an indication of, whew, okay, the situation is over. The situation is resolved. I have released all of my stress. I've literally shaken it off, and I am ready to continue doing things that I love, okay? I chose to remain still during the majority of our long line work today. I wasn't moving with Cooper. I found a seat on kind of the side yard area and just took a seat and let him move as he would to a certain extent to the end of my leash. And what I found is that when I became kind of a focal point for him, it made it a lot easier for him to choose to move away from things that were a little concerning, a little stressful, and just hone in on where I was, where he could receive pets and cookies and kind of affirmations that he was safe and he could be calm and he could be relaxed. And that's really what triggered the shake-offs too. He would kind of check in with something that startled him. He would sniff the air, which I marked for, and then when he started moving towards me, I would mark again and offer my hands, offer some snacks on the ground, and he could retrieve those snacks and get some love, and then I'd see a full body shake from him, all right? We did not end up focusing too much on our pivot point today, and I'll explain why. I saw a couple of concerning things when I was when we were out and about, just when Cooper was taking potty breaks. He is not lifting a leg to urinate anymore, and that's okay. You know, a lot of male dogs just don't want a leg hike. They prefer to just do a little squat, kind of. But he also is struggling to move into the poo squat position. My team member also noticed when she had him out in the yard that he just sat pretty much all the way on the ground when it was time for him to go number 2, and then would kind of work his way back up to a standing position once he was done, leaving his stool rather squashed underneath him. These can be indications of joint pain, which is to be expected from an overweight dog. I do not want to exacerbate that joint pain by asking him to take on some unnatural positions that would put additional strain on those joints that are already facing some discomfort and some limited mobility. So I did not work on pivots. Now, what you can do, you can still ask him to get up on the stool and then get back off the stool. And then maybe ask him to walk around a little bit and reapproach the stool in a different way, from a different direction, get up on the stool, get back off the stool, okay? But I'm gonna not, for now, I'm not gonna ask you to start to try and nudge or maneuver his back feet too terribly much, because those are the joints that really take the brunt of any pain and mobility issues when a dog is working on losing weight and is facing some weight challenges. So we want to let those joints rest and relax. Something you can do for him when he's kind of settled, if he's napping or relaxing and offers you maybe opportunities for a belly rub, you can practice some passive mobility exercises. So that just means that while you're scratching his tummy or his chest, you can just gently take his back leg and just work on kind of a bicycle maneuver for him with either leg, whatever one he has in the air for you. Come here. To help get that mobility and get that joint moving without the stress of weight being put on it, okay? It also might be worth talking to one of our veterinarians. I'm not sure who you're seeing primarily right now, if you have a preference, but it might be worth talking to them about joint supplements if he isn't already on one. He is already on the metabolic mobility diet, which is perfect. That's exactly the one that we want, because that's helping ease his joint mobility while trying to get the caloric density down in his diet day to day so that he can help lose this weight, okay? One thing to keep in mind when you are working with him, he is very particular about what he will and will not work for as far as food reinforcement. So it's okay to introduce some higher value treats, higher value items to the training process. But to counter that, you're gonna have to do a little bit of math later on. I know, my guy, go get it. And cut back on whatever meals he eats after the training sessions are done. So I'm using Hill Science Diet training treats today. I'm actually gonna send a bag home with you this afternoon. He loves these. He's going gaga for them, which is great because they are designed to be a low calorie but high value reinforcer in order to get your dog motivated to work. So I'm going to send home a bag of these with you. They're not cheap, they're pretty pricey. But they can give him the higher motivation that he needs to do some of this work outside with you, or some of the mobility work that we've done, while helping you not have to cut back so much on his day-to-day caloric intake, okay? Let me know if you have any questions about this. I know I wasn't able to do much demo work in this video. I will make an effort to capture some outdoor exercise with him next week, weather permitting, and we can see how what that recovery looks like from a high anxiety or high stress incident to the sniffing, capturing the sniffing, capturing any focus on me rather than the distraction, and then looking for resolution behaviors like the full body shake or the ground sniffing, or even maybe just like a sit or a lay down. I would love it if we could get to the point where we go outside and he is curious and he sniffs around, but then he just chooses to settle with me somewhere. This pacing right here, this is an indication of stress and arousal. And while it might be challenging for him to settle into a down right now with his joints and his little bit of overweightness, that doesn't mean that it can't happen. Right now it's more that he doesn't feel like he can settle. He cannot get comfortable here with me. And that's to be expected. It's the veterinary office. He never really knows what's going to come at him next. But I would love it if we could get to the point with you when you're working outside, where a goal that you have is to get to a point in your walk where you and he can just find a comfortable spot to sit, and he just settles. And you can watch the world go by together, and he doesn't feel the need to react or respond or be concerned about anything that's happening around him, okay? He did really well for me today. I was very impressed by how readily he was able to recover from the social incidents that happened, and I look forward to seeing what kind of progress we can make next week.